what is your favorite what are your favorite memories from your time here?
My favorite memories were with, I guess, my science teacher, just Miss Jane Barber.
Uh-huh.
When I was very young, I was living in Springville, Utah, and my parents got me a book on science projects for kids. And from that, I built my first telescope.
Oh,
And when Miss Barber heard about it, when I came back to school, she had some glass discs
mm-hmm.
and all the materials to make my first telescope mirror.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so I did that in the basement of the schoolhouse. And I was still grinding and polishing on graduation day, and I just had to leave it there. I think a teacher that was here later finished it off.
Well, that's a cool memory. So, and what do you think was the most difficult part about being at Wasatch for you?
Most difficult part of being here. I don't think there was anything difficult.
Okay. And what kind of sports or in which clubs or what were your favorite or what did you participate
Okay, really my first class, my favorite class was woodworking shop with
in? Uh-huh.
Mr. Clitheroe.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
And what did you do like in your free time just like for fun at Wasatch?
What did I do for fun? I can't remember.
Why don't you tell them a little bit about what you told me over there about how that science class impacted the career you chose?
Okay.
This is great.
When I was, Miss Barber got me started on that telescope mirror. And I later went to the University of Illinois and the University of Michigan, where I got my degrees in physics, math, and astronomy, and I became an astronomer. Which then my career was 40 years of doing astronomy at the University of Texas and McDonald Observatory.
That's
So that all started here.
Then I have a little extra question. What I heard there was something that the boys did to a classmate while he was sleeping one day.
I don't remember that.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, there was always the short sheeting and things like that.
I have a question. What dorm were you in?
I was in Sage and Darlington
Sage and Darlington.
and Lincoln.
Okay.
Talk about the jobs you had around campus, because we don't do that anymore. You guys all.
Yeah, that's
So
something that
what were some of the things you got assigned to do?
peeling potatoes and vacuuming around. I'd have to go around to the dormitories and vacuum the floors. Of course, when I went into the Alice, I'd have to yell out, "Man in the house."
Now, I have a question. Were you here all 4 years?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. And those 3.5, when you first got here, what dorm did you start out in?
In Lincoln,
And then from Lincoln, you went to
Darlington.
Darlington and Sage?
Yep.
Okay. It's all different now.
It is, yeah.
Do you stay in touch with any of your roommates? Or
There's
teachers?
one that I stay in touch with, Marilyn Bradshaw, now Reagan, and she actually contacted me and suggested we come for this reunion, but she backed out. And so I'm here. As far as I know, I'm the only one from my class.
70 years.
Yep,
What year did you graduate?
47.
47.
Yeah.
How did the war impact your high school experience?
Well, grew up in Michigan. We left Michigan in 42 because of the war. My dad was an electrical engineer, and he went for a job in Provo at Geneva Steel Plant. So we moved to Springville, and came here from there. So it was the war that brought me here, really. Not that I was a warrior.
Right. But in some way, everybody that was here during those years was impacted by the war.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
What is the craziest thing you ever did at Wasatch?
Well, let me tell you the craziest thing my brother did. He lived at Sage, and they had a dorm supervisor over there that was a little too militaristic, you know. I mean, he was doing his job, in other words. And the guys, you know, like to screw off a lot, so they didn't like him too much. So one night, what they did was they got this squirt bottle. You familiar with squirt? It's a soft drink. And several guys peed in it. And so when the supervisor came around, you know, they acted like they were drinking pop, and they offered to give him a drink. And he actually took a drink. He was really ticked off. Oh, gosh. And
What is one of your favorite memories from your time here?
I don't know. You know, this was a very small school. Everybody knew each other in all the classes. The kids came from all over, not all over the world the way they do now, but we had a lot of National Park Service kids and a lot of reservation kids who didn't have schools to go to, who came here to Wasatch. And so the student body was kind of an interesting mix, a little bit different from the way it is now. I don't know whether we really had any international students in those days. But we had Indian students, we had national park kids, and in later years, my daughter went here for a couple of years. In later years, they had juvenile delinquent kids that their parents were getting fed up with trying to, you know, manage them. And I think this is when Ken, I don't know, one of the headmasters. What was the Chinese guy's name? The headmaster? Ken.
Don't know that history.
Anyway, I can't remember. But it became kind of like a reform school, and they used to have smoke sheds out by the dorms. The kids used to go out there, and you know, so I don't know if they were smoking pot. Probably half of them were. But I know my daughter was smoking, and I'm pretty sure she probably got hold of some pot down the way there. You can't avoid it. You know. I suppose there's pot here now, right? I mean, not at school, but I mean in the town.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I remember going with girls. I remember sports, and I remember a lot of nice friends that I had here.
Do you still
And the
stay in
teaching, the teaching back in those days, you know, teachers usually taught more than one subject, and as far as the college prep, I don't think there was as much emphasis back there in those days as there is now on getting into college. You know.
Okay. What was the most difficult part for you about being at Wasatch?
Well, probably at the time I thought maybe the regimentation was. I think the students, I think, were treated a little differently back in those days than they are now.
In what way?
In the way that they were young people who didn't know too much about life, and they had to be shown, you know, how to do things. And I think from an intellectual standpoint, you have a different atmosphere here than we used to then.
Would you say it's like a higher intellectual or lower? I'm not sure.
Now,
Yeah.
who knows? If you talk to Joe, he says it's way higher. Now, I don't know about higher, but he says, but there's more emphasis on it, you know. whether or not you're any better off or not, or whether you're any smarter than any of the people that I went to school with, who knows? That's a difficult question.
What sports and clubs were your favorite?
What?
Sports or like activities here?
Sports?
Yeah.
What were my favorites?
Yeah.
Well, I participated in basketball and track. And back in those days, we had a football team. And it was a pretty good football team. And we had a couple of all-state players, more than one, actually. And so probably the football was emphasized more when I was going to school here. Not soccer. Soccer is a foreign language, isn't it? I know it's football, but I'm not gonna call it that. Hong Kong, all that
So,
stuff.
what did you do for fun at Wasatch?
Well, there used to be a movie house here, and so that was kind of the predominant activity. On like Friday night or Saturday night, you go to the movie, and you try to neck with your girlfriend there, and it was kind of out of the way place. It was dark and everything, and we used to take a lot of trips. On every 6 weeks, we had a weekend where we could leave the area, and we'd go to Salt Lake City or some other place just for a weekend, and just a little break from school. And we used to. There's a donut shop up here called Spudnut. Do you know what a Spudnut is?
Yes.
Okay. There's a Spudnut shop up here. We used to go up there quite often and eat junk. And down there we had a place downtown where the nightclub is, where they do karaoke now. That used to be a soda fountain. We used to go in there and hang out and go to get Frosties and stuff. But there wasn't a heck of a lot to do.
ARNETT.
Okay. Okay, what is the craziest thing that you ever did at Wasatch?
Probably the craziest thing is in our years here there was a BB gun war fight between Darlington and Sage where we shot out all the windows of each of the dorms. Didn't go long. And another thing that we did was my roommate was Robin Reddick, and he and I had a cat for a while in our room in Sage dorm, which was against the rules. And the funniest thing about that is when we would leave, the cat would take his paw and stick it out under the door and go like this. And the most interesting thing that happened was Mr. Eusebio Vasquez was the housemaster at that time. And when they delivered your mail, he'd walk down the hall and he'd just shove it under the door. And so one day he walks down, shoves it under the door, and the cat pushes it like a game back outside the door. And Mr. Vasquez, we were at the end of the hall watching, and we didn't know this was going to happen. And the letter comes back out, Mr. Vasquez pushes it back under, and then the cat pushes it back out. Mr. Vasquez couldn't figure out what was going on, and finally the cat's paw comes out. And we got in trouble for that. So when you got in trouble in those days, you had to do cleaning chores or that sort of thing to make up for it.
Okay. What was your favorite memories from your time here?
I think my favorite memories, I played on the basketball team and we were very close. Our big rivals were San Pete and Manti. And my most favorite memory, I guess, was Manti had been state champions, and they had these 2 6, 7-inch tall guys, and we were a short little team. Most of the time we got beat by these teams, but our coach was a Coach Parker. He would have us full court press the whole game 100% of the time because teams were taller than us. And when we played Manti, we played it in the little gym here where you eat now, except it was or over there. and it was packed to the brim. I think everybody in Sanpete County was there, and in the last few seconds of the game, I was fouled. We were 1 point behind, and I got a 1-and-1 free throw, and I sunk them both, and we beat Manti that night. And it was a big deal for Wasatch back in those days. So big that when I came out of the dressing room and was going back to Sage to get dressed, there were a lot of people that hated us, and they threw things at me, and some of them spit at me and stuff because they couldn't stand that we beat Manti that night. So.
What was the most difficult part of being at Wasatch?
There was not a difficult part. I loved it all. I look back on it, and this was one of the happiest times of my life. I loved it here. A lot of kids would talk about being away from home or wanting to be in public school. I never had that problem. I loved every second here.
What sports and what clubs were you from?
Boys and clubs. We only had a graduating class of 42, so there weren't very many people. So pretty much all the boys were a favorite. My roommate was Robin Reddick, but I was friends with everybody. And mostly back in those days, there weren't as many clubs, so it mostly revolved around sports or theater. We would do theater and music and stuff like that.
Did you just play basketball?
Basketball and football, ran track, and played tennis.
And what did you do for fun?
Well, back in those days, I don't know if it's similar to today, but because we were so small, boys and girls tended to pair up in couples, and so everybody thought was fun was all the guys we would wait on the Sage on the porch of Sage, and then when your girlfriend or whatever came walking down the park from Alice, you would pick up your girl and walk her down to dinner, because we all ate at the same time back in those days, and we had family-style dinners. And after dinner was over for a half an hour, inappropriately, all boys and girls that matched up together tended to go back to Alice and make out in that parlor room over there, or out on the sidewalk out in front. And there's a lady who was Miss Gable back in those days, used to try to have to watch us, and she'd try to break stuff up. But that's what most people did for fun, was go make out for as long as you could till you got caught by Miss Gable.
So, what was the craziest thing you ever did at Wasatch?
You should give these questions ahead of time. Probably one of the sillier things I did was throw a smoke bomb in the open bathroom window, take off running, and the fellow who was the co-author of this, probably his idea, we ended up running into a tree, trying to go around two different sides of the tree. I went one way, he went the other way, and we ended up in the tree. But
That's pretty crazy. What was one of your most favorite memories here?
oh, I think each year got a little bit better, and the last year being on student council, and it was very pleasant to see the school from that perspective and have a direct hand in seeing activities
Yeah.
develop. It's going to turn itself off in a second. There it is.
You're fine. Okay. What was the most difficult part of being at Wasatch for you?
Most difficult part. I don't have any bad memories about it. I suppose I was here 4 years, and the first month or two was kind of tough being away from home. But then it becomes family, and you look forward to coming back each year. So I wouldn't say, well, I suppose some of the classes, the academics might have been some of the harder parts.
Okay. And were you in any sports or clubs here? And what was your favorite?
Least favorite was probably football because I was a 110-pound weakling. My older brother was here and he was on the football team, so I had to follow in his shoes. And I ended up getting beat up as bad as the football. So I lasted for maybe 1 or 2 practices. But then I did run track. So I enjoyed distance running in track.
Nice. So track. That's awesome. And were you in any clubs or anything?
Student council
Oh yeah.
last year, and I think that was about the only activity other than classes.
Okay. And what did you do for fun at Wasatch in your spare time or anything?
I suppose just the activities of, there's always something going on planned for the students, either at the Tigers Den or activities out on the football field. So the sports that were available, tennis, that was probably that kept me busy rather than studying.
How about around town? Did you go anywhere around town?
We'd go up and eat tacos at the corner Dairy Queen up there at, where is that, Main and State Street?
Yeah.
You guys had a Dairy Queen?
I think it was a Dairy Queen or a Dairy King.
Oh, right.
That they had great tacos. That would take half your allowance to buy 3 or 4 tacos.
So I asked you, how did Wasatch affect your life after high school?
Well, after high school, immediately was college. And this was a great school to go to for high school. You got the best education in the state and probably the West. And so college was very easy after high school. In fact, we got some of our college credit just given to us. It made me want to go on to a better college. I graduated with a law degree from the University of California at Berkeley. You asked what my favorite subject was. It was probably English. That was back in the days of when an expression that was used was like man-like, was an expression that kids used. I can still remember using that in Cora May Overton's class, and she said, I'm not a man and we don't use that expression. Her teaching was really great. All of our teachers were good. You asked what my favorite sport was, and that was probably skiing. I came from the desert in Arizona, so to be able to get a pair of wood skis and go up here to the rope tow in the mountain here, and then go on up and ski Alta and Brighton. And I enjoyed that the rest of my life till I had a health issue and can't ski anymore, but I skied until fairly recently. You asked what are some of the things that we remember that we did funny. Well, we once put a Volkswagen on the steps of the dorm in back of us. Then we had to take it off. Coming back through a vacant field here by the towards the old movie theater. One night we stumbled across the mortuary sign and we hung that on sage. But my picture was in it, but it really wasn't me that would have done that. I remember institutionals. They taught everybody hard work. I understand that the students now don't have to do institutionals like we do, or did rather. every morning or every afternoon. It taught those who didn't have a background in working as a kid, it taught them how to do that. We had to have our rooms clean every morning when we went to school. Our beds had to be made, the room had to be clean. I remember eating scones. They had a real hard scone, about 4 inches long and an inch wide and a half an inch thick, and they were really great. I've never ever had them since then. My brother graduated 3 years after I did. So we've had a little bit of history. My dad was a trustee of the school for years, and my brother also served.
Just out of curiosity, where are you from?
I live in Superior, Arizona. It's a mining town about 70 miles east of Phoenix.
Okay, so what did you do after you graduated? College, life, career, family?
I went to Arizona, University of Arizona for 1 year, but had real bad hay fever. I went to Utah, my second year of college. Then I transferred to ASU, and at that time married a graduate of 64, the class of 64, and went on to law school. We had 2 children. My daughter's an attorney, as I am. I practiced law since 1969 and still do.
That's awesome. So what are some pros and cons of Wasatch from your Wasatch experience?
I don't know if there were many cons. I think the cons had to do with student discipline that none of us kids liked. That was the con. The pros are the quality of the education. Miss Overton was a graduate of Oxford. You couldn't get any better than that. And it was a unique environment, as all of you know, living together with fellow students. You're with them 24 hours a day, give and take the 8 hours or so of sleep, but you don't have that kind of experience at all unless you go to a boarding school.
Let's see, one more question. How about, do you still keep in contact with some others from your time at Wasatch?
Yes, we have, as you might know on the website, we have Wasatch, www.wasatchacademy62.com. We then added the classes 61 through 65. Carl Atkinson in my class goes crazy organizing things. We now get together once a year someplace. Not many of us. I see Don Lee's wife is here they're here, they live in Ecuador. They come a long way. And so a group of us gets together every year.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
It is. See, we've kept that going after all these years. I hope all of you do the same.
So first question, how did Wasatch affect your life after high school?
After high school, I think just affected my whole life just because I learned a lot of bartering, how to survive with a bunch of different kids, and I learned a good amount of academics, but more so just social skills and, who to go to, how to get things, do someone's ESL homework, get some noodles,
That's good. Making friends.
Yeah, making friends, yeah.
That's good. What were some of your favorite classes, extracurriculars, or sports?
Fencing was my favorite sport. Did that for 4 years.
Really?
It seems like you don't have that anymore, right?
No, we don't. I didn't know they had a fencing.
Yeah, we did fencing team. And my favorite class was history.
Oh.
I had the teacher, Mr. Munson. He was my favorite teacher. And then after that, it was mostly math. But just because
You're a smart person.
no.
That's cool. I didn't know they had fencing. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
4 years. They had it before I started coming here as well. So
Wow.
yeah, they made it to a lot of state tournaments and stuff.
Really? Did you ever get to state?
We got pretty far, but then some of my teammates got in trouble, so we couldn't do anything anymore.
Dang.
Yeah.
Crap. It's happened a lot.
Yeah. Don't drink alcohol. Nostalgic?
Yeah, nostalgic. About visiting again.
We just went around and went to every single room I lived in, so seeing all those places and seeing like being able to tell my stories of, you know, when we used to sneak out or go on top of the roofs, just seeing the campus but everything, like this building is new and everything is like new. We used to have church in that building over there, now it's the music room, so that's kind of crazy.
And we had a new art building.
Yeah, the art building, like, it was an auto shop before or something.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah.
Do you still keep in contact with others from your time at Wasatch?
I keep in contact with about 2 or 3 people, but it's pretty difficult, especially being such a multicultural school. Everybody that's like your best friend might be from Japan or something like that, and they go back home and you're like, you can't hang out with them that much anymore, but it definitely takes effort. Try to see them at least once a year or so.
Were they like your best friends or you?
Best friends, yeah.
Your best friends?
Yeah.
It's cool. What is different at Wasatch today, and how was it like when you were here?
Definitely there's no security cameras.
Oh, really?
There's definitely a lot of security cameras around here. Pretty surprised about that. It's pretty much more techy, more high grade. Yeah, there's a lot more, like those key cards, like that's super cool. We just had regular keys. Yeah, you guys like really, there's a lot more money in like areas. Yeah. Do you guys have a gym? What is that?
Yeah.
We never had a gym before.
What? It wasn't a gym?
We had, so in the gymnasium, if you're like facing, the back, there was like this little room. Now it's your guys' storage closet, but it has clear doors. Before it was just like this double door, wooden, would lock it up with a chain, and that was our gym in there. And it was like,
oh my goodness.
working out with like, Rocky and stuff. It's like, that was our gym. So,
That's sweet.
Your guys' gym is like better than my university's gym, so good job.
Yes. What role is Wasatch playing in your life?
I think, this is where, since I went here for 4 years, this is where I grew up, so somehow it's my home,
Yeah. It's cool. Taught you life lessons?
Yeah, taught me life lessons. Teachers were my parents, All the kids were my brothers, even if I hated them, or sisters.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. What are some pros and cons of your Wasatch experience?
Pros and cons. I don't remember any cons or anything. Like it was pretty chill the whole time. I think pros is just, we're able to, I guess you guys can figure things out now with the enhanced security, but it was kind of a little bit more free, but still pretty restrictive. But I like the teachers, especially advisory program. I was able to make, teachers that were like parental figures towards my growing and learning. So that was pretty much my pro, is being able to hang out with teachers living on campus and getting up to hijinks, watching movies, No cons though. I mean,
no cons.
Besides getting sick,
See, that's good.
Yeah, I got influenza once, it's kind of sucky.
What was your most fondest memory?
Fondest memory? I think I have like one for every year, but I think the most influential thing that happened is when I first came here my freshman year, and leaving my home to be here away from my parents, I latched onto one history teacher, and he passed away the next year though. But that was like my fondest memory was, latching onto a teacher and having more of an emotional connection towards the teacher rather than just an academic connection.
Cool.
So that's most fondest.
That's cool. What did you do after you graduated? College, life, career, and family?
Yeah. Went to college, and then I graduated and started working, and I've had a very strange amount of different jobs, different fields.
What's been your favorite job?
Well, I worked on a farm, and then I did bartending and managing a pizza place, and now working at a bank.
Wow.
So, it's...
That's a lot.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Hasn't been that long since I graduated, so hopefully in my 10-year reunion, I'll have something cool, something cool built.
That's okay. How did Wasatch Academy affect your life?
Well, it was a big change. It made me sure that I was going to go to college afterwards.
Cool. What were some of your favorite classes, extracurricular or sports?
Chemistry. Another favorite one was Spanish, because the Spanish teacher was gullible, and we used to just give that poor man all kinds of troubles.
Oh.
He lived in the dorm with us, and he would crawl in through his window and short sheet his bed.
Oh wow.
He provided a lot of entertainment for us.
That's cool. What was the most nostalgic about visiting again?
I was asking about in that time there were, I don't know, 30, 35 students from northern Arizona and New Mexico. And the bus ride from Wasatch to Grand Canyon was a memorable trip every year.
You used to do that every year?
Well, at Christmas time.
Oh, really?
We'd go down and our parents would meet us
Oh.
there and take us on home. But from here to Grand Canyon was a bus ride that was very memorable.
That's cool.
I won't tell you what it was memorable for, but
that part's a secret. That's okay. Do you still keep in contact with others from your time at Wasatch?
Not really.
No. Not even like best friends.
No, I haven't kept. I really haven't kept in touch. I came about 5 years ago to a reunion, and my roommate that I had for 3.5 years, neither one of us recognized each other.
Really? Oh wow, that's crazy. What is different at Wasatch today than how it used to be?
It's a lot bigger.
A lot more buildings?
A lot more buildings. A lot of new buildings.
How about like population?
I don't. You mean student population?
Yeah.
I don't know. How many are there now?
3. Yeah, there's
400?
close to 400.
Well, it was, I think, 225 or so then.
Wow.
And that included 7th and 8th grade.
We just have 8th grade now. That's pretty small. What role is Wasatch playing in your life?
No. Probably not that much.
Not that much.
No.
Kind of moved on. What are some pros and cons of your Wasatch experience?
Well, I learned how to study, and like I say, I really just convinced me to go to college.
Yeah. Kind of just a stepping stone.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do after you graduated?
I went to junior college for a year. My parents wanted to retire, and they couldn't retire and keep me in college, so I went into the Navy for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Then I came back and finished college. I was in the Peace Corps for 2 years.
Really?
In Panama. Then I was in Peace Corps training for a year in Puerto Rico. Then I went to Rochester Institute of Technology and got an MFA in furniture design. Since then, I was either teaching furniture or had my own studio.
Wow.
Living in Maine and California.
I came to Wasatch after 8 schools in 4 different states: Oregon, California, Nevada, and Utah. It certainly turned my life around. Yeah.
Awesome. What was your favorite thing about Wasatch?
My favorite thing about Wasatch is gave me a sense of family. Because family had been kind of fluid. I think that's being tactful for my parents. I was born down in Salina and spent until I was 6 years old in the middle of Capitol Reef. My mother wouldn't let me play with white kids because they were all Mormon. So I played with Navajos because we had a Navajo family live on the ranch. And so my first language was kind of Navajo. And that's not an easy way to drop into a school on the coast of Oregon, but that's what happened. What else can I answer for you?
How has Wasatch benefited you now?
How does it, say again?
So how has Wasatch benefited you today?
How has Wasatch benefited me today? It's given me an anchor, a connection with the kids I went to school with for the last 55 years. You sure you can cut this? Not too embarrassing. Carry on.
What was the student body count back then?
The student body
people, the count.
The count? Oh, I don't think there were 300 in the whole school. I think there were 54 in my class. And it was a relatively small class, but it was pretty tight. I think the thing that was interesting was 40 years later you started to find out stuff about what kids' life was like before they got to Wasatch.
What things are different about the school now than it was when you
Oh goodness. Well, aside from the electronic move in the whole world, it was a mission school then. There were kids that came here because their families lived on Indian reservations or Forest Service, Park Service. There was a big influence from the Park Service. There were a few kids from Thailand and all through there. One from Germany. So it was nowhere near as diverse as it is now.
How big was the campus? Was it less buildings or?
Oh yeah, there was the church, and that was about the full extent of it going north, and it was just like the two blocks from Alice Dorm over past Sage. The track was in a different place. The gym was was where the Tiger's Den is now. So it was a smaller feeling to it. We had a rope tow up in the mountains where we could go skiing or tobogganing.
Awesome. What was the dress code like?
Oh, rather formal. You had to dress for dinner. You didn't wear jeans to school. If you were a late sophomore and you started to show that you might be growing a beard, then Mr. Vasquez came by and asked you if you knew who the people were that sponsored the Saturday night fights, and the answer was always Gillette Blue Blades. That was his subtle little way of suggesting you better start shaving. I don't remember there being much of a stress about how long your hair got, but I know that after I graduated, that was kind of the hippie movement began with probably my class. Marijuana was considered as evil as heroin, so it was kind of a strange world.
Now, if you could sum up one of your favorite memories from Wasatch, what would it be?
Well, this was kind of an in-your-face thing where we got to go up to the Mormon Tabernacle with our choir and sing, because we sang, excuse me, we sang Battle Hymn of the Republic when the Mormon Tabernacle had it on the hit parade for the United States. And that gives you a little insight into what the hit parade was like in 61, 62, no rap music.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Lofton, so capable of running such a large, diverse, different, I mean, we've got so many foreign students, and I understand they have operations in Europe and different countries, and the operation is so much larger than it was 60 years ago, that I'm saying, what's happened? And it's got to be Mr. Lofton.
I don't know. Mr. Lofton is he's on top of it, getting everything done.
Because, he's obviously got to be a good businessman and a good educator as well. I was a teacher once for a period of time. And so I know what it takes to be a teacher and to make something like that happen. And he's making something happen for a lot of people from a lot of countries. And that's wonderful. That's a real significant achievement. And so I'm wondering, what makes him what was his training, or what makes him even capable of doing that? Because most people couldn't. I even as wonderful as I am, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, he's a hard worker.
Hard worker, smart, obviously.
Smart, yeah.
And a good businessman, too. He must be a good businessman. Okay, great.
So what looks different on campus?
Well, the new buildings.
Yeah.
What really looks different to me is the different faces.
Yeah.
We had students from different places when I was here. But, gee, you've got students from everywhere. And that's really significant in this day and age where people can travel, where there's opportunity in America, where young people have a chance to come and get an American education, get a training, and what some of you may not realize, your greatest education is the introduction to a different culture. After I was out of school, I was in the military and was in Turkey, in that culture. And of course, I've traveled to other areas, other countries, and so I've seen different cultures. And recognizing that when I was your age, to have spent time in a different culture would have been one of the greatest educational opportunities that I ever had. When I came back from the military and got my master's degree and then started teaching, my instructions to the students the same age as you is travel. Go to other countries, learn about them, because there's something that will benefit you in your future life if you know what other people think, because other people think different things, some of which are may prove to be very beneficial to you in your future. So, anyway.
Did coming to
And that's-
Wasatch?
Pardon me?
Sorry. Oh, did coming to Wasatch really help you with college and university?
I think so, because my folks made it very plain to me early on that they expected me to get an education. My grandfather was educated back at Amherst, and my parents were both educated here in Utah. And I've got school teachers, grandparents, mother, me, a daughter. There's a lot of school teachers in our family. And so education has been an important element in our family. So I knew that I was going to go on for an education. They sent me to Wasatch because Wasatch was a better education in their opinion. And that's true, that it was a better education than the one I would have had at the local high school. And now I'll tell you the truth. I also started going with a girl at that age. I was a sophomore, and she was a freshman. Her parents were married when they were 15. An older brother was married when he was 15. An older sister was married when she was 15, and a second older sister when she was 15. And I was 15 when I started going with her, and my folks took one look at that and said, "You're going away." But they sent me to Wasatch because Wasatch was a higher education opportunity.
So where are you from?
Northern Utah, near Logan.
Oh, okay.
That's where I was raised.
Sure.
Right now we're from Boise, Idaho.
Really? I'm from Idaho.
You are? Where?
Yeah. I'm like an hour north of Idaho Falls.
Okay, so, yep. Up in Mormon country.
Yeah.
What are you doing down here in this Presbyterian school? Well, it's not a Presbyterian
Not
school anymore, is it?
Yeah.
It used to be. This was Presbyterian National Board of Missions,
Oh, yeah.
but now it's not Presbyterian. Okay, so you can even be a Mormon and be here.
Oh, yeah.
Good on you.
What is one of your favorite experiences here?
I was very, very fortunate, and well, I was, I guess it probably was I guess I've got a personality because I was very popular, and so my popularity just, I mean, I did everything I wanted to do and was extremely popular. I was the student body president, and I was the athletic. I got awarded the Outstanding Athlete Award. I just, everything I did was successful. And this, and I think that's an important lesson for young people, that if you can develop your personal skills to find out what it is that you're good at and then practice doing that good thing, it'll give you the confidence to take some of the setbacks that you will get, because you will get I've had setbacks that have been maybe if I had not been so confident, I might have retreated into failure, but I was confident enough that when I had failures, I was able to overcome them with my confidence. So for young people, to develop a confidence in yourself, knowing that you will have troubles, but you can overcome those troubles if you will yourself to overcome. And I think that Wasatch, maybe the other school would have done the same, I don't know. But this was a bunch of really good kids, people that I really liked, a good education. Education was important. The athletics in the other school, the athletics were everything. Those of us that were on the teams, and I was on all the teams, we didn't have to go to school. I'll tell you another little secret. Something that I discovered about 2 years ago. I went through a bunch of old papers that my folks had. I found my first report card. Now this is going to astound you guys, because you can tell by now how really brilliant I am. But I got straight F's that first report card. Does that tell you something about how well I was educated when I got here?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have to study. Those of us that were on teams did not have to study. We played. Well, I got down here, And you didn't get when you were on the team, you did the work before the team left. You didn't get to do it for free.
Yeah.
And so this improved my educational opportunities for sure.
Was it hard? Were you a boarding student here?
Yes.
Was it hard being away from your family?
No, because I mean, I love my family, got along great, but I liked the kids the minute I showed up. I met friends on the front steps on the way in, and you know, I adapted very, very quickly to the atmosphere of the students, and well, I've always been very, very social, so this, and I didn't have to milk the dang cows anymore. I was raised on a little dairy farm, and so on weekends or whenever you got trapped out at the dairy. Well, I got down here, I didn't have to do the dumb dairy work. What an advantage this was. This was the greatest life there was, because there was no cows to milk.
Okay, well, that's all the questions that we have.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to get to talk to you, and I wanted to do this because somebody may see this, some youngster, and having taught seniors in high school, I wanted to say that for the seniors, the best thing that you can do, along with the education you're getting here, the best thing you can do is develop your personal skills so that you have the confidence to know that you are and can be and will be successful if you maintain your self-confidence.